All right, all right, all right. Time to rock and roll. Welt Rheaume, don't forget, call my guys, Jeff Welt, Daniel Rheaume. They can help you. Bankruptcy, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury, 954-966-4646. Call Welt and Rheaume, and the consultation's free. So you can call, ask for Jeff Welt, and explain your situation, and he will tell you if you have a case or not. Good morning, Mr. Furones. Did you get some sleep?
Good morning. Yeah, some. I mean, it's a late night, Thursday night, and then you go into Friday, you start previewing day two, thinking about all the possibilities, and then you go for another 2 rounds at night. We're going to get to be introduced to Chop Robinson here at the local media a little bit later this afternoon before the Dolphins get to making their second and third round choices. Well, just second right now. And so a long day and then another long day Saturday, but this is what you love, draft time.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you there. I went around the league a little bit, asked some folks. I did not get one bad review, mediocre, average review of Chop. Every one of my guys that I asked, they freaking love this kid. So what did you think overall of the pick? And I don't know what information you were able to gather around on top of all of that. Share, please.
Yeah, initially I wasn't the biggest fan. I just didn't think Chop Robinson at 21 would have been the pick. I was thinking of him maybe later if there was a trade down scenario. I definitely would have liked him. I was looking at those top three edge rushers when you're talking about Laiatu Latu, who ended up being the first one taken. Dallas Turner, a lot of people had him first, and we were talking Jared Verse, like him and Turner would be long gone, and Latu was more of the choice, but. Interestingly enough, Latu was the first one. So as far as edge rushers by 21, I was hoping for one of those three. But I've come around to Chop Robinson. The more I think about it, the more I look into him. And that 4.48 40 at his size, over 250 pounds, to run that speed is just incredible. He's a remarkable athlete. He has a high pressure rate, so he's winning a lot, or pass rush win rate. So he's winning a lot at the line of scrimmage, even though it hasn't translated so much into sack numbers that aren't necessarily jumping off the stat sheet or jumping off the page, but I think he's going to start getting to the quarterback once he gets a little bit more polished with hand placement. That was one thing that he mentioned to us that he still needs to work on in order to really start getting home. So I think once he starts getting that, he gets that NFL coaching. I think the Dolphins are really going to be pleased with what they end up getting with Chop here.
And it's exactly what I got from one of my guys that saw him live a couple of times. He goes to me, saw him play live a couple of times. Good hustle bend. Obviously, like everyone, can over pursue, but his demeanor and consistent pressure stands out. And so when he talks about over pursuing at times, that's what he's talking about, that he needs to use his hands so he doesn't over pursue and he can get around them quickly instead of trying to athletically, burst past them, because apparently his first step is like stupid. It's Jason Taylor like. His first step is what I'm told. Like he when he comes off the line, it is a problem for offensive linemen, and they end up he actually forces them into penalties because he's so quick off the ball. He's super explosive. And I think that that's something that is going to be a plus for him. Once the thing is, now he gets to learn off Chubb and he gets to learn off Shaq. I mean, I know Phillips is there too, but Phillips is a youngin' himself. So I'm sure he can teach him a couple of things, but really to have Chubb and Shaq Barrett around, that's what's going to help him. And then Anthony Weaver played his position. So Anthony's going to be able to, teach him. Plus they can rush him from inside. So you could actually see all four guys on the field at one time. Why? Because Phillips and Chop have success and know how to rush from inside. So you can use Chubb and Shaq on the outsides. So you could actually see at one point, if you want, the four werewolves actually playing, because Phillips and Chop have the ability to play inside, which then gives Weaver an opportunity on pass rush situations to really send the house. And this is why you also pick a guy like Chop. He can play outside and he can play inside.
Yeah, when we spoke to Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel, then it was even brought up to Mike McDaniel. We were asking him, do you even see possibilities of the three of them? You know, now you mentioned four, but three of them being Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, and now Chop Robinson, all together on the field at the same time. He gave us, you know, one of these, like he's a mad scientist coming up with something, and I think Anthony Weaver definitely has some of those plans in place. He also spoke, Mike McDaniel did, to the collaborative effort that went into this. So we know Anthony Weaver definitely loved this selection. He envisioned some things that he could really do with Chop. And Chop is really the player that Chris Greer said they targeted. He used the word targeted at 21. So it wasn't like, okay, oh, it was a bummer when, there was a little bit of a run of some of the players we were seeing at 20. Troy Fautanu, who we've been a fan of as far as a prospect. I mean, if he would have been available, that would have been a home run. I think everyone would have considered. But Chop Robinson was the guy that the Dolphins say they wanted at that spot, that they figured would be available. So
I would have to agree with you and with Chris, because that's exactly what I'm hearing from the building. They got exactly what they wanted. They had offers to move out, but they weren't willing to move out. They wanted that kid. They wanted him badly. And then that also tells me that Weaver, this is the part I can't confirm yet, but Weaver must have been the freaking top cheerleader in the room for the kid. It must have been, you know? So it's kind of crazy that I think people have to understand that, I think we've all learned this, right? Greer just doesn't go and pick whoever the hell he wants. He can do it, and he'll do it, but he does go to his coaches, his big coaches, and say, what do you think? Do you like this player? Give me your input. So he does take their input. So that tells me also that like I told you, this is why when he said three guys, you think I said Shaq Barrett just because I'm guessing? No, because, I got something. And I was told that you could see that, because that's exactly what the plan is. You got a guy that can play inside and outside, and they got a Phillips who can play inside outside. So now you got two guys that can actually disrupt from inside, and you have your two outside guys. So at one point or another, you will see all four. And that's why they wanted Chop, dude. They loved Chop. This is not like anything that they settled for or anything like that. If they were settling, they easily could have traded out, and they didn't. So that tells you right away that they wanted this kid in a bad way.
Yeah, absolutely. That third down defense that the Dolphins will have, that package that the Dolphins will be able to present, when it's third and long, and you put all four of those guys on the field together, would be the scariest thing for any opposing offense. Because there will be wreckage for opposing quarterbacks on the horizon. So the Dolphins pass rush package will be feared, especially now. And assuming that Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb go through the offseason rehab that everyone hopes and for those guys, coming off the Achilles for Phillips and the knee for Chubb. And what a not trio, quadrant, whatever the word would be, before some, those guys would be all on the field together. And Anthony Weaver, he can take Chop Robinson and really work on some of those things, because he has developed so many defensive linemen, the way he's coached them. And edge rusher, whatever. Nowadays, he's going to stand up as an outside linebacker, but still there is trench work that Anthony Weaver can work on him with, specifically that hand placement, and sort of getting that quickness controlled, so that he can take that quick first step, that get off that's so amazing, and then he can sort of control it as he goes through, and not over pursue, like we've mentioned earlier in the segment.
Well, that's the stuff that comes last.
Right.
Is learning how to work your hands at the top level. It's usually something that comes. That's the thing about Latu. That's freakish. And when you go watch Latu, the dude already has 5-year veteran moves in the NFL, and you're like, whoa, what the hell is this? You're like, holy shit! It's what's the name of the receiver we had here that went to he was drafted by the Raiders, then traded to the Cowboys, and now he's somewhere else. He's an exceptional route runner. The kid's from here. What's his name, dude? Oh, come on, man. Somebody help me out.
South Florida guy drafted by the Raiders, Cowboys.
Yeah, and he went to the Cowboys. They traded him to the Cowboys, and now he's somewhere else, I think. Now they went to somewhere else. What's his name, dude? And then you go to like the Northwestern, right? The kid, come
But
on, man.
are you talking about Amari Cooper?
Yes, Amari Cooper. Thank you. God damn it, bro.
Yeah, with the Browns.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So Amari Cooper came out of college running routes like a 5-year NFL player. That's why Amari Cooper's so good. It's not that he's the most talented guy in the world. He has that. He is a technician. And so that's the beauty of a guy like Latu, that when you get him, you're like, holy crap, I don't even have to teach this guy how to play with his hands already. He knows how to play. He knows when to use his spin. He knows how to use leverage with his body, all of that kind of stuff. And that's where like Jason Taylor or Chop Robinson or many defensive ends, they get to the league, dude, they don't know how to really use their bodies and the leverage and their length and all that kind of stuff. Chubb's going to teach him that now. You know, Shaq's going to teach him that now. Weaver's going to teach him that now. Now he's going to learn his lesson going up against NFL tackles on how to do all of that, you know, so because he's used to going up against college tackles. Now he's going to go up against veteran NFL tackles, which becomes a hell of a lot harder than what he was facing. So this is normal what Chop is going to go through, my friend. It's normal. It really is.
Yeah, and you don't have to put him in a situation where he is counted on as this day one starter that you need him, you know, now maybe one of them between Phillips and Chubb, they're not all perfectly ready to start the season, whatever the case may be. We can't predict several months down the road, and maybe he does end up starting week 1 or whatever. But when all are healthy, then he still has those guys to lean on right now. And then if down the road you start seeing what is someone between Phillips and Chubb, whether this year, next year, they don't quite return a form coming off their injuries. Now you have another contingency plan, so he can really be that guy down the road. And then maybe he's paired with someone else in the future, just a guy that you could really hold on to for a long time and have as a staple to the defense potentially.
I'm with you. All right, so what do you think happens here in the second round? I've been telling folks here, I think you heard it when before coming on, I think there's a chance that wide receiver is in the mix now here because of the whole Tyreek situation. I think they could be a year ahead. So, yeah, they could take an offensive lineman, a guard, a center, which is something. They could take a D tackle like my boy Roque, that I absolutely freaking love. I really want that kid badly in the second round. They could trade down, I think. So what's David Furones of the South Florida Sun Sentinel say?
There's a lot of possibilities. And I mean, we were even hearing Chris Greer was thinking about getting back into the first round at the end of last night. So, you know, there's definitely players that the Dolphins like that are probably going to not last too long into round 2. So they pick at 55 right now. So you got to wait a little bit. So if they stay there, some of the guys that they want are probably going to be off the board. They can make a move to trade up. They don't have the 3rd or 4th rounder this year to use, but they're going to have a lot of draft picks next year with all the compensatory selections coming in. So maybe that's the capital that they use. You mentioned wide receiver.
They got 3/3 next year, dude.
Right.
3/3 next year. All right. They'll have their 1st, their 2nd, and 3/3. That's going to be fun, man.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you mentioned wide receiver, then sure, you know, Keon Coleman's there. I really like him. 6'3". Obviously, you saw the catches he was able to make at Florida State. Adonai Mitchell out of Texas is still around. Lad McConkey out of Georgia is one option. I mean, I'm of the mindset I want to see them go into the trenches. Defensive tackle Jerzon Newton is still there. There was a hubbub about him in round 1 to the Dolphins. So, yeah. I mean, and maybe even at 21. And then so now he's lasted into day 2. So
that's your boy, right? Johnny Newton? That's his boy, Johnny. That's yeah. Sean. Sean wanted Johnny Newton for the Dolphins.
Yeah, Johnny Newton, right. So, I mean, he'd be a good pick. Braden Fisk, also defensive tackle out of Florida State, who really tested off the charts at the Combine. So, Chop Robinson tested well. They want another guy up front that tested well. Then Braden Fisk could be a guy. Chris Jenkins, too, Michigan. Yeah,
I get mixed reviews on Chris Jenkins.
Yeah.
That that one, not all my guys like him, bro.
Yeah,
All my
yeah.
guys, some of the guys are saying that they're giving Chris extra love because of his dad, and that he's all right, but he's probably should be taken a little later. That's what some of the guys are telling me. So I can just tell you ahead of time that I may not get great reviews on the Chris Jenkins kid, but that's just me. Anyway, what else?
Yeah, no, that's fair too. Yeah, and I mean, you look at O line. A lot of guys. I mean, Patrick Paul, Texas out of tackle out of Houston. That could be a guy, a round two tackle that I like. Christian Mahogany's a guard that I saw training down here in South Florida ahead of the combine, and I know he's a day two type of guy. He's another one I like.
Cooper Beebe,
Jackson
Cooper
Johnson is
Beebe's.
still there.
By the way, Cooper Beebe's another guy that if they make a trade and they pick up a couple of extra picks, a Cooper Beebe could be a guy because he plays left tackle, left guard, right tackle, right guard. He plays 4 positions on the line. He's actually a pretty decent player, and you know how much they love that shit. So that could be one of those guys because he's big enough to play tackle, athletic enough to play tackle, physical enough to play guard, and athletic enough to move around and pull. So he kind of might fit what they do here, So that's another one of those guys you can look at. But again, you will not be able to contain me if they draft Roque. That's all I gotta say. You won't be able to contain.
No, and that's a good point. That's a good point on Beebe, the versatility on the offensive line, because that's a big reason why a lot of people like Graham Barton. His versatility. That's why I myself mocked him. I did like it in a trade down scenario, actually, to the spot where he went. In my mock draft, I had the Dolphins trading down with the Buccaneers and then getting Barton at 26, and Barton ends up going 26, but to the Buccaneers themselves. But Jackson Powers Johnson's still there too. I mean,
good call.
Early on in the whole mock draft process, he was a big man.
Yeah, I got to give Kyle Krabs credit. He's told us on the show, he goes, I think he's going to be into the second round, possibly all the way to Miami at 55. And a lot of my guys said, yeah, he's clearly a late first rounder. So he even nailed it. And who knows? Maybe the guy lasts all the way to 55. That would be crazy.
Yeah, it would be. And he's a very strong lineman now. Maybe not as athletic that you want in the scheme, but I mean, still, suffices it in that area. I think he's more power than his agility.
Yeah,
Christian Haynes, another one, guard, UConn. Zach Frazier too, West Virginia. So, a lot of options, a lot of ways that this could go.
If it stays at 55, let me put you in an impossible position because I'm in one. I'm going Roque. Who you going with at 55? Be ready, Sean.
Okay. 55. So you want like someone realistic that could last into 55?
Yeah. Apparently I was on crack yesterday with Latu and then Verse. Neither one lasted to 21, so I was way off on that.
Right.
I failed there. At least your guy's still around. You could have taken Johnny Newton at 21, but then again, you could have traded down and waited for Johnny Newton, apparently. So we missed on our first round pick. So we're going to go with our second round pick. So let's fail all together. Since I'm going to fail forward fast, I want you to fail forward fast in Cam Cameron fashion. So give me one name and one name only in the second round for the Miami Dolphins if they stay at 55.
Okay, staying at 55. So I'm going to bypass a couple of like my top targets, thinking they go before then. And I'm going to just go ahead and say Braden Fisk, defensive tackle, Florida State.
Okay.
How about if he's there? And I'll give you one on offense too. I'll go Patrick Paul for the tackle. Let's say he ends up at 55 and they go there. But before then, Newton would be a choice. And I didn't mention Cooper DeJean. He's still there into the second round. So
corner, yeah.
Right, corner, but he's versatile. He could be like a Swiss Army knife in the back end. Anthony Weaver might want to use him like a Kyle Hamilton in Baltimore. So he's lasted in a day too. So I'd imagine he might be one of those targets that Greer was talking about, thinking about getting into the back end of the first round, and now maybe trying to trade up in the second round. So, so much can happen.
Okay. Sean, give me a pick. What do you think?
Christian Haynes, Connecticut.
Yeah, I like
Guard.
that pick. UConn. I like it. I like that pick. Yeah, that would be like right there with BB, right there. I like Haynes. I probably could take Haynes in front of BB. I don't have a problem with that. That's a good one. I like that, Sean. All right, there you go. So, what do you got going on the Sentinel leading up to the draft, so Dolph fans can check you out, my friend?
Yeah. Covered the Chop Robinson selection last night, obviously. So a bunch of stuff up on our site on that. And we'll get to know him a little bit more on a personal level today before round 2. So I'll have more Chop Robinson coverage, and then build up into day 2. So a lot of stuff we talked about, what the Dolphins might do, O-line, D-line, wide receiver, all these different possibilities, trades, break that down. And then whoever the picks are, I got you covered.
There you go. Follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ and catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. As always, my brother, appreciate you. Enjoy your weekend. We'll catch up on Tuesday, and we'll get a recap.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
You got it. There you go. The great David Furones, call the great Jeff Welt, and Daniel Rheaume. They are the best in the business. 954-966-4646. Consultations completely free. Their offices are beautiful offices are in Hollywood. Bankruptcy, personal injury, homeowner property damage, commercial litigation, condo damage, business owner claims, criminal defense. They can help you in any of this. 954-966-4646.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.